Previously on Kung Fu Maintenance. So we've got this really loud noise from the boiler, and today I'm going to show you what it was on this boiler. The second stage boiler wouldn't fire either, but that's a completely separate story. Come and sit. That one's up and ready. Second stage boiler, no hot water is the title if you'd like to check out that video. Then on a quick loop-de-loops video on two-stage boilers circulation, I showed how the waters run, the path, the hot water heater, directions of flow. And that'll help this video make a lot more sense.
And then the top one's the hot loop. So here's the in to this boiler, and then the out to this boiler, and it's fed back through this pipe here, coming along the top, up and over. So you have two loops for the boiler system. The lower one, the cold loop, higher one, the hot loop, and then the feed. And the feed. Here's a return loop of a hydronic circulator pump, and then the end loop for the hydronic heaters. Kind of back around. Here you've got a one-way check valve, so water can only flow this way. Water comes in to the boiler here, feed, goes through the loop, comes back on the other side, back to here, and then fed through the unit. This one's a two-stage system, so the first one doesn't keep up with it, the second one kicks in. Does its thing.
Okay, so it's about time for me to reveal the answer to what was making all this racket. First check was the pump, and that was spinning freely, nice and clear. Next was disconnecting the flow switch to gain access to the header. This way the header can be removed and gain access to the tube bundle assembly. So this here is the header removed. And then here's the tube bundle. Now the four on the left are the inline, and then the four on the right are the outgoing line. So the water comes in on the cold side, comes back around through the header, and then goes up these other. And if you look down inside, about the third one from the right, you can see a lot of scale built up. Now that's where our noise was coming from. As the water was trying to go through there and being heated up, it's trying to get around that scale like a traffic jam. It just starts making a ton of noise. I couldn't really see in there that well as you could on the film, but there's a special tool for getting in there to be able to check it and then being able to clear it out. And this tool is a special kit that you put a drill bit on the end, basically, that screws to the end. And what you can do is when you're at the front of the boiler, hold it and measure across and either use your hand or mark the stick that you're putting in, the pole that you're putting in, to see how far it goes through the boiler to the other side, and then running through each of the two bundles to find out where you have any obstructions. And on this one was actually the fourth one in. I had pretty much obstruction, as you saw in the camera footage earlier. And but this one also at different points, as you extend it almost all the way through, sometimes you'll feel a little bit different length that it might go in, and sometimes that's the shape of the header. So
on
you
the
just
other
have
side
to be aware that the header at different points may curve or direct the water around a different way, and so that can be why the pole doesn't go through. But if it stops about halfway through, you have an obstruction of some type. And as I showed earlier, even with the camera, you could visibly see the obstruction of calcium and mineral deposits inside the tube bundle. Of course, a lot of this couldn't see being there. I could have probably reviewed the footage and seen better that this probably is a little bit better to clean out with a wire brush and get all this stuff out of there from the inside. But this particular one did clear that fourth one in. You could see it's completely blocked, and that one had to be drilled through and cleared out. But I sort of, there's a lot of different kits, and the particular kit that I had was just a drill bit. So you could see even the third one here, some blockage there as well, but it didn't show up because the pole was able to pass through, and couldn't see in there until I got home and uploaded the footage. Anyway, this one did start making some noise again about 3 weeks later, so I'm going to have to do a deeper clean And this one, the tank may actually need to be flushed too. There's a lot of calcium in sediments, so that's kind of the story there. But the real story of what was making the noise is that scale blockage. The blockage from the scale is causing the water to fight to get around as it's being heated up inside the boiler, and that was what was causing that racket. With any repair like this, the reality always comes into play, and there's always the risk that once the tube bundle is reassembled, the header is put back on and put back together, that a leak may develop after this is cleared out. It's possible that the calcium can actually form around a leak, seal off a leak, and then you go and clear this stuff out, and then the leak shows up because the calcium, it's always possible it was covering a pinhole or whatnot. It's just the reality of the situation, but it has to be done when a boiler is making that kind of racket and noise. You've got to get in there and clean it out, but those are the risks involved. It's it's not that the repair was the cause necessarily of a leak that may develop. It's often just that that's part and it's the risks involved, or that's the reality involved, that sometimes there may be deeper problems, or this may reveal the problem that was there all along. So it's all part of it, part of maintenance and taking care of these things. And the other problem, well, not problem with this, but the tricky part of this is that once you clear it out and drill it out, then you'll need to flush out the stuff that you freed up. And the problem or the tricky part of this is the first 4 lines on the left-hand side, right, were the inflow, and the 4 on the right-hand side are the outflow. But because your header is disconnected, it's not going to make the complete circle. But you can open the line on both sides to flush it. But the problem is that one-way check valve that I was telling you about earlier, about that check valve can actually kick in, and often does, as you're going to drain it out. And so you're only going to get so much of a flush before the check valve turns off, and then you're stuck either using different methods of pulling the debris out of there and flushing it out, or continuing. And you can hose it out or whatnot from the other side and do what you got to do with different ways of getting out. Just something that you should be aware of. And I think not a bad idea to follow this up with a correctly sized wire brush. There's a lot of different kits for this, and there's stuff online you can get, or your supply warehouse or whatnot. Or if you're on a boiler service plan, this is what they'll be doing, and not a bad idea when you've got boilers. And it's I'm certainly no expert on boilers. Just kind of, I thought this was interesting and thought I'd share it with you guys to know a little bit more about it and understand it a little bit better, and get an inside view, so to speak, of things you don't see every day, and understand the repairs that need to happen a little bit better. If you find these videos helpful, a one-time donation would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you support me on Patreon, helps me do what I do. There are some special perks for Patreon supporters, and we'll see you on the next one.
Come in, my brother, I will turn the light on. Tell me, my friend, what do you see? He sees a picture on the wall of a man who looks as if he pleads with men. His eyes are lifted up to heaven, the best of books was in his hand. The law of truth was written on upon his lips, the word picture above the man's head. Who is this man? Questions Christian. This man, he is one of many. He can have children and nurse them when they're born, but his work is to know and to unfold dark things on the sinners. And whereas you see the world is at his back, he's pressing on towards the prize. His crown awaits him in heaven, so that's where he's focused his eyes. This is the only guide, the Lord of heaven is authorized. All others you must shun. Then the interpreter led him to a parlor that was full of dust because it never had been swept. And he called for a man to sweep the floor, but the dust began to fly. Then he said to a woman that stood by, bring some water and sprinkle the room. Then it was swept and cleaned easily. What does this mean? Question Christian. Paul represents the heart of a man that was never sanctified by the good news. The dust in the room is original sin, and the inward corruptions that defile the whole man. First man that swept is the law. All the woman you saw represents the gospel. The sweeping of the law makes sin worse, but the grace of the gospel made it possible to clean up the sin and corruption with pleasure. The gospel comes in with a sweet and precious influence to make the sin conquer and subdue it.